around through uncommon conversations. Politics, religion, finances, all the topics your grandmother told you not to discuss with friends. And now, your host, Matthew Dowling, and today's guests on Commonalities.
Well, thanks for joining us today on WMBS 590 AM, 101.1 FM, and everywhere that you download your favorite podcasts. I'm your host, Matt Dowling, on Commonalities, alongside today's guest, Natalie Duval. Natalie is an author and has a couple of different pieces in publication. Natalie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you have going on?
Hey, thank you, Matt. And thank you for having me here. You and I met, I think, 15 years ago, something like that, maybe 12 or something, right when I was published in my first kind of anthology. So I'm a Jacqueline of all trades, kind of. I'm a published short story writer. I also do write some nonfiction, especially now I'm a teacher and a director of an MEd program. So now I do a little kind of writing in those fields as well. And also, I think, I just got off a term of school board last year. When I write novel length books, I do write romance, but my short stories cover the gamut of things. And my last published one was in a charity anthology called Like Sunshine After the Rain. And that was more like a women's fiction short story.
Now, you also professionally work as a educator, isn't that correct?
Yes, I'm a high school English teacher. Yep.
So molding young minds, never easy work. I'm sure you may bring with you some opinions about education or how things perhaps could be done maybe better in some of our areas. Any of those ideas you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I think a lot of people talk about, right, the school system and wishing it could be better. But I'm sure you know the statistics on it too. When you poll individual communities, most communities are actually really happy with their school system. So we have this weird dynamic, whereas it's almost like the country as a whole is saying, hey, we need to change the school system, but then at an individual level, we're actually quite happy with it. And I think that sometimes gets in our way. I think we do need to be moving towards more, and I'll use this word. I know this is a word that maybe I shouldn't use because it's almost inflammatory, but a more progressive type of school system. And I mean that as progressive in we need to rethink how we grade, we need to rethink how we promote students, kind of things. But as a country, I don't think parents want to do that. I don't think parents want to say, hey, maybe we should reconsider if age is really how we consider when a student's ready for a grade level or something like that. Or that maybe the numeric grading system or percentage grading system, maybe that's not something that's helpful. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that too. You're kind of, dealing with the parental end as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely see that each learner is different in the way they handle each discipline, and what's right for one student is not necessarily right for another student. And I see that just with my two kids that are less than 2 years difference
Yeah.
in age from each other. They have unique needs, and so parents have to partner with educators to make sure those unique needs are maybe being met.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think on kind of a similar note to that, this day and age, we really are seeing a big push. Like, I don't know if you see these memes all the time. It's like, why do I need algebra? And I think we're actually starting to push away from some of the things that are core to being a well-educated person. And I talk to my students about it all the time. I'll say something like, here's a spreadsheet I created so you guys could compare your grades. And I used math to do that. And I think sometimes it came from a good idea that we're trying to push kids into career fields. But I think we're also then kind of losing some of the joy of just learning for learning's sake. And I think that might be why some joy is coming out. Careers, we really do need to focus on that. We really do. How can we focus on that and make kids still have joy in learning other things that maybe they won't use, or maybe that they will use decades down the road and they don't know it yet?
Well, and maybe I'll take some ownership, while I'm not proud of this, as kind of a political mindset that would come from where I am on the political spectrum. But there's almost a bad connotation that goes with academia, and I really hate to see that. Because academia is not a negative thing. We have amazing discoveries, and we've moved forward as a society because people have taken time to further educate themselves or to do research, etc. And we live in a society that wants to demonize that academia sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, when I ran for school board the first time 5 years ago, I kind of promoted myself that I have my doctorate in education and that I was familiar with multiple aspects of the educational system. And this last time when I ran for reelection and I lost, I actually got attacked quite a bit on being mocked that, I'm a doctor of education. So I think that therefore I am better than the other people. And it kind of took me aback in that, to be honest, that it was kind of this pushback against my degree.
Yeah, and we don't ever want to hold education against an individual. It's something that can only help them to further themselves or their organization, as it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, my students and I were talking about that this week because we're reading Dracula, and in Dracula there's one American, and he's described as the stereotypical American, and he's described as well educated. And I think in the United States, we should take pride that education is so important to us. Don't you think? Like, that is one of the things that makes us really, I think, stand out, that we try to make sure that every single one of our students has access to fair education.
Well, I think it's time we get our first break in. That'll just take a moment or two. When we come back, I'd like to discuss a little bit about your writing style and what motivates you to write, and about some of the things that you have in print right now. So we'll be back as soon as we recognize those that have helped pay for today's program.
You're listening to Commonalities, where guests find common ground through uncommon conversations. We'll be back after this brief break to recognize our sponsors.
When it comes to buying a home, what you see isn't exactly what you get. That's why home buyers should call Dave Dowling at Grandview Inspections at 724-208-4108. You'll see colorful flowers, freshly painted walls, granite countertops, gleaming hardwood floors, and other touches. What you can't see is the cracks, ancient plumbing, dangerous wiring, or broken appliances that might be revealed when you hire a home inspector. And when it comes to home inspectors, knowing yours has the qualifications and experience needed should be your number one concern. Dave Dowling with Grandview Inspections is an architectural engineer with over 30 years of commercial construction experience and hundreds of inspections under his belt. A home inspection is an opportunity for you to hire an expert to walk through the home and prepare a report outlining the home's major components, what needs immediate attention, and what will require maintenance after you move in. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so make sure your investment is everything you hoped it to be. Call Dave Dowling at Grandview Inspections at 724-208-4108.
Is your business using analog strategies in a digital marketing world? If so, then contact Matthew or Rebecca Dowling at Coordinated 360 for a professional consultation, where we bring in-depth knowledge and functional expertise with a holistic perspective. Coordinated 360 provides digital marketing, paid ad and media buying services, web design, social media management, video production, and more for businesses, organizations, and political campaigns. With decades of experience, Matt and Becky at Coordinated 360 can help you craft your unique message and share it with the world. For a no-risk media evaluation and recommendations, call 724-320-2212 or visit us online at www.coordinated360.com. Find us also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or email info@coordinated360.com.
Are you enjoying the program you're listening to? Support Commonalities and help keep us on the air by making a donation of $5, $10, or $25, or any amount you feel comfortable sharing online at donate.commonalities.online. Again, that is donate.commonalities.online on the World Wide Web. Buy our host a cup of coffee or help pay for airtime at donate.commonalities.online.
Founded in 1991, Bright Stripe has succeeded on the premises of quality work, done right at an affordable cost. At Bright Stripe, personal service has always been a must. We strive to be the premier asphalt sealing and striping company in the region. Matt George, the owner of Bright Stripe LLC, brings experience from his construction and maintenance company, Mountain Creek Construction and Maintenance. Matt has provided excellent customer service to many happy businesses and homeowners. Bright Stripe is the premier provider of seal coating, or pavement sealing, the process of applying a protective coating to asphalt-based pavements to provide a layer of protection from the elements, water, oils, and UV damage. They also specialize in driveway and parking lot crack sealing. Crack sealing is the process of applying a protective coating to asphalt-based pavements. Bright Stripe also abides by all safety laws and standards in line striping and layout. For a no-obligation estimate, contact Bright Stripe at 724-437-6090.
Well, you're listening to Commonalities on WMBS Radio 590 AM 101.1 FM and every place you download your favorite podcast. I'm your host, Matt Dowling, alongside our guest for today, Natalie Duvall, and we've talked about the educational status here in the United States and some of the problems that we're seeing. But we wanted to talk to you a little bit about being an author and some of the work that you've done in the past, and kind of a little bit about what someone who may be interested in starting to write should do.
Yeah, sounds great. My most recent, we talked a little bit about it before we got together live here, but my most recent work is in the charity anthology Like Sunshine After Rain. It is by a publishing company that I love. It's called Raw Dog Screaming Press. The editor is also an editor I love, Heidi Ruby Miller. And this is an interesting one. This was a solicited anthology. So the editor, Heidi, reached out and asked certain people to contribute to the anthology. And it's an interesting process, right? Because when someone asks you to write for them, you're like, yes, of course, because it takes out all the stress and pain of submitting and going through that kind of thing. But then the call's very specific, the word length, the, thematic kind of ideas of the story. And so I immediately said yes to Heidi. And then I had to think, well, what on earth am I going to write about? And the premise, this was a charity anthology to help a friend with a cancer diagnosis. So the premise was, it's called Like Sunshine After Rain. So the premise is something that overcomes. And I was like, that's not the kind of thing I write. I really am a romance kind of writer. And then, I was just outside looking at our backyard and all the spotted lanternflies that were just bothering me, bothering our trees and everything like that. And I kind of took a story about a single mother killing spotted lanternflies. And I am not a single mother. I have the best husband in the world. I really do. And I have 3 really great children. But I took what would it be like to have children similar to mine doing similar incidents that mine do, like fighting over a bag of chips, and how that would just really almost be like a triggering moment of someone who's trying to kill spotted lanternflies, right? It's like pushing that rock back up the hill again and again and again. So that's how that story came to be. And it's just interesting how those kind of stories generate themselves when it's nothing like you would normally write, nothing you would have ever thought to write, just the inspiration we get from the normal world. And hopefully one day when my own children read the story, they'll know that though I took inspiration from them, I'm not basing the character's emotional feelings about her children on how I feel about them.
Yeah, and it is so interesting that you pulled that inspiration from the day-to-day life of the spotted lanternfly, and I think about some of my background in the last couple years, and how I've seen the spotted lanternfly now start to move into our area. Of course, that's a non-indigenous um, uh, fly that came over on presumably container ships to the United States. It can be very harmful. For the last several years, I've represented Somerset County, where they make maple syrup on the same level and with the same volume as maybe Vermont, and people don't realize that at some point in time. But that spotted lanternfly can be extremely dangerous to
Yes.
those trees that are out in that area. We also, I remember a couple years ago, running for office and knocking on doors, and the cicadas were out, and
Yeah.
you heard them crunch, crunch, crunch after
Yeah.
we're walking down the sidewalk. So it is strange how we pull things from everyday life like that.
Yeah. One of my earlier anthologies, I had a story and I remember the story and I would not tell you to read it now, but I was trying to moralize. So I was trying to, give this moral message. And I don't think that story, that kind of metaphorical story, was as good as the story that I just took from the mundane and tried to make it in life. So it's often interesting. I think that's something that when we mature as a writer, and of course I'm not a mature writer at all, but when we kind of develop and keep writing and writing, we see that sometimes we used to try to make these grand gestures in writing, and I don't do that anymore, and I think I'm better because of that.
So that's a tip or a piece of advice that you would pass on to those that are just starting out.
Yeah, I would. I really think don't you think it's something of youth that we want to have this big impact and we want to try really hard, and I think sometimes the harder you try, the more difficult it is. So going more simplest, staying to what, it's trite, but staying more to what you know and what you experience helps kind of those things come out more than when you're trying really hard to.
Sure, sure, and and I think that's great advice. Sometimes we work too hard to build things up to a level that just isn't natural, and
Yeah,
you can pull from those everyday experiences.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
Well, we have to get one more break in here before the end of the program. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about what is in your future. Do you have any new pieces that you'll be working on or that you're starting to think about? And then we will get our final thoughts in for today's program. But we'll be back right after this.
You're listening to Commonalities, where guests find common ground through uncommon conversations. We'll be back after this brief break to recognize our sponsors.
When it comes to buying a home, what you see isn't exactly what you get. That's why home buyers should call Dave Dowling at Grandview Inspections at 724-208-4108. You'll see colorful flowers, freshly painted walls, granite countertops, gleaming hardwood floors, and other touches. What you can't see is the cracks, ancient plumbing, dangerous wiring, or broken appliances that might be revealed when you hire a home inspector. And when it comes to home inspectors, knowing yours has the qualifications and experience needed should be your number one concern. Dave Dowling with Grandview Inspections is an architectural engineer with over 30 years of commercial construction experience and hundreds of inspections under his belt. A home inspection is an opportunity for you to hire an expert to walk through the home and prepare a report outlining the home's major components, what needs immediate attention, and what will require maintenance after you move in. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so make sure your investment is everything you hoped it to be. Call Dave Dowling at Grandview Inspections at 724-208-4108.
Is your business using analog strategies in a digital marketing world? If so, then contact Matthew or Rebecca Dowling at Coordinated 360 for a professional consultation, where we bring in-depth knowledge and functional expertise with a holistic perspective. Coordinated 360 provides digital marketing, paid ad and media buying services, web design, social media management, video production, and more for businesses, organizations, and political campaigns. With decades of experience, Matt and Becky at Coordinated 360 can help you craft your unique message and share it with the world. For a no-risk media evaluation and recommendations, call 724-320-2212 or visit us online at www.coordinated360.com. Find us also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or email info@coordinated360.com.
Are you enjoying the program you're listening to? Support Commonalities and help keep us on the air by making a donation of $5, $10, or $25, or any amount you feel comfortable sharing online at donate.commonalities.online. Again, that is donate.commonalities.online on the World Wide Web. Buy our host a cup of coffee or help pay for airtime at donate.commonalities.online.
Founded in 1991, Bright Stripe has succeeded on the premises of quality work, done right at an affordable cost. At Bright Stripe, personal service has always been a must. We strive to be the premier asphalt sealing and striping company in the region. Matt George, the owner of Bright Stripe LLC, brings experience from his construction and maintenance company, Mountain Creek Construction and Maintenance. Matt has provided excellent customer service to many happy businesses and homeowners. Bright Stripe is the premier provider of seal coating, or pavement sealing, the process of applying a protective coating to asphalt-based pavements to provide a layer of protection from the elements, water, oils, and UV damage. They also specialize in driveway and parking lot crack sealing. Crack sealing is the process of applying a protective coating to asphalt-based pavements. Bright Stripe also abides by all safety laws and standards in line striping and layout. For a no-obligation estimate, contact Bright Stripe at 724-437-6090.
Well, you are listening to Commonalities on WMBS Radio 590 AM, 101.1 FM, and every place you download your favorite podcasts. I'm with author Natalie Duval. And Natalie, before we went to break, we started to kind of veer in the direction of the future. And I wanted to know, are there some projects that you may have that you're working on and planning on in the future?
Yeah, there are two things right now. I've ventured into poetry, so I'm writing at least one poem a week. I am not, like, I would not say, there are some people, man, they just spew out poetic language. I really have to struggle and work hard for it. So it's been a great challenge. And I am sending out so many poems right now and getting so many rejections that it's been wonderful. And then I also have what I almost call kind of like my Outlander Diana Gabaldon project. I'm finally writing down a book that I've just loved the story for ages, but is not necessarily, I don't know if you know the background of Outlander. When she submitted the novel, she got rejected oodles of time just because it was so different than everything else. So that's what I'm kind of working on. I'm kind of getting away from, kind of the format or formula of most romance novels that are being published and doing more of a fantasy type piece. So I'm working on both of those things right now. And honestly, I'm just enjoying writing. And that's just nice. It's just nice to enjoy writing.
You spoke a little bit about getting those rejection letters back from the publishers. How does that deal with one's psyche, and how do you accept that feedback as a gift, perhaps, um, and use it to improve and to make things better in the future?
Well, I think you have to go through that initial period of thinking, I'm going to send this out and I'm going to be that person who gets this bidding war coming over their work that first time they send it out. Because I think you need to realize that really only happens to like one person, and it knocks you down, and then it takes a little while. I've had some great mentors that really talk about how success is getting a rejection letter, because that means you're one step closer to being accepted. And I've seen that in my own career. When I got my agent, he initially um, he had rejected the piece I wrote him and said, but hey, if you ever write anything again, send it to me and I send it to you. And if I had taken that rejection from him on what at the time was a terrible novel, if I had taken that rejection to heart and never sent him my next novel, I would have never gotten my first agent. So I think I'm at a place now where really I want an acceptance, but a rejection is like, I'm one step closer and I'm doing what I need to do. So I'm being successful in really what's the hardest part, which is writing and sending.
And I guess just utilizing that feedback is something that helps you ultimately on the journey of improving.
Yeah, and every time you look at something you've written, I know you know this too. Every time you look at something you've written when time has passed, you have new eyes and you can come back refreshed and you can alter it and you can make it better.
Absolutely, and I know I've looked at things that I've written in the past and really questioned, was that me inside that shell that
Yeah,
was writing at the moment, because things do change a great bit from time to time.
they really
So
do.
before we get to the end of today's program, I want to give you an opportunity to get your contact information out there. If someone is interested in reading something that you've written, or if they want to learn more about you professionally, how can they go about doing that?
You can find me. I know a lot of people use Facebook. I have my writers page, which is Natalie Duval's writers page. And I also have my educational page, which is Educational Overhaul with Dr. Duval. So both of those, Natalie Duval's writer page and Educational Overhaul with Dr. Duval. You can also email me on the email I use for all my writing, which is natt444@gmail.
Okay, Natalie, thank you so much for being with us today and joining us for Commonalities, the show where guests find uncommon conversations and common ground through those. We want to thank you for being a guest with us today, and we hope that you take care and have a great holiday season.
This has been Commonalities, a show where guests find common ground through uncommon conversations. Copyright 2022 Coordinated 360. All public rebroadcasts should be done with prior written approval from Matthew Dowling. All requests should be sent to info@coordinated360.com. Thank you for listening to Commonalities.